what I wanted to see was like, when do they get the spark, right? So, and what do they do that? So a big chunk of them are actually ME grads from here. A reasonably good chunk are MSc engineering, and a pretty good number of PhDs as well. What's interesting to see is this largely correlates with the number of people that move out, but what's very interesting to see is MSc engineering students are doing more startups, right? Because early exposure to research probably helps. The kind of areas that they're going after, this is the 51 startup sample that I'm looking at. Overwhelmingly, they tend to do a lot of work on machine learning and IoT, like you can see. There's a lot of vision analysis that happens, information retrieval, NLP, knowledge graphs, analytics, sensors, and so on. Obviously, there's a long tail here. This is the technology that they incorporate into their company, but what sectors do they cater to? This is again fairly very interesting. A good number of them focus on healthcare. Again, a good number of them are focusing on automotive, marketing automation, machine learning as a service, which is a pretty interesting industry to look at, business intelligence, and then again the long tail comes up. This is a particular plug, and I want to introduce the beautiful session that we have right after this break. My dear friend from PwC, he has a very sector-wise view of how the whole thing is looking. And why PwC is important is these are people that advise large corporates on where they should invest next, right? And when you look at deep tech startups, you are looking at, hey, I am an ML startup, but what matters is whether you're using ML for agriculture, are you using it for surveillance, are you using it for forensics, and then the size of that industry actually comes into play. He has a fantastic set of insights that he's going to give right after the break. He's done a lot of work on this. You should absolutely, everyone should actually ask him for his deck when he's done. Again, these are the sectors being catered to. Some of the key societal problems that are being solved. There is a theme that I'm trying to bring about here. Quite a few of these startups, I know many of them are here sitting in the middle rows, are focusing on affordable healthcare, which is a very India-specific problem, and I think ML and AI has a huge role. ML, AI, IoT, and vision have a huge role in enabling affordable healthcare. There are quite a few of them doing road safety, privacy and trust, increasing connectivity, lead generation for SMBs, right? So small businesses, they want business. Can you help them get something? Upskilling, leisure. I had to put in a plug for my company. But largely, I want you to look at that. It's not. They're not just being driven by the money, but the startup has to do something for society. It's a very common theme that I'm seeing, right? Beautiful statistic that we got, again, thanks to LinkedIn and some persistent searches by me. Across all these startups, more than 1,000 people are employed, okay? Rootmatic, if you can raise your hand, Sriram Sog is wins the largest employer here.
Can you clap for that?
Yeah. Right, so the go-to-market strategy that most of them are using is B2B. There's B2B2C. What this means is they're still trying to go after a consumer, but the route to a consumer is through another business. Very few B2C startups, which is the story of doing a deep tech startup. You need to partner with a big corp very early on. Very interesting observation again. None of these startups are into hospitality. You won't see a OYO-like startup. There's no e-commerce, logistics, MOOCs, food ordering, ticketing, service delivery, payments, marketplace, fitness, fintech, right? These don't seem to be interesting enough for IISc grads. But the huge focus is on machine learning, computer vision, healthcare, IoT, multimedia, industrial automation, and surveillance. All B2B sectors again.
That tells you we are not doing MBA here.
Right. Another observation, 40 million is the total amount raised by about 7 out of these 50 startups. A lot of them seem to be huge employers, but this 40 million, even if you look at that money as funding all of the employees, only 35% of these people seem to be funded by VC investments. Most of them have revenues flowing through them to fund the employee salaries. Let me just digress to higher level view. The last 2 years have seen a huge investment into deep tech investments. Europe has taken a lead, the US has taken a lead, and I'm sure our VC friends here in India will also follow them very fast and say, hey, I want deep tech companies to invest into. So the timing is very right there. What is again interesting is to look at deep tech is deep tech is not a blue ocean where you just take in all the money and go build your market size. Instead, it's a very, very deeply coordinated activity. Where startups need to interact with corporations, but they get their pool, they get their knowledge from universities, and these three should influence government to get policy that is favorable, right? All of this, along with facilitators. Now, we are trying to bring about IISc as a nurturer for deep tech startups and be closely involved, because this is how deep tech is done. Industry, startups, big industry, small startups, and academia need to work together to get this going, right? So this is how we want it to happen. Very similar to the previous deck that I had. It almost feels like the mandala that, right here. In fact, Tejas Networks also has a rangoli in their thing, right? So to really weave a big story, you need to join all these dots. All of them need to come together, and this whole experiment is to get that going. With that, I want to invite all of you to visit the demo hall. All the startups there have put in a lot of work to get and show up all their demos. I invite you to take a look at that, and we'll be back along with tea, of course, and be back 5 minutes to 5 for the next session by Chetan. Thank you.